Hi, everyone. Welcome to Blue TV. If you will bear with us. So, first, I appreciate that you have been patiently waiting. Krista, Tim, I'd love to say it was technology, and maybe it is, but I have not yet. And Krista and I were just in an audio room together. So I'm hoping that whatever is happening, she is joining us soon. When she does, we will do her introduction and we will get to know her a little bit more. But I will kick us off into as we wait so that we are at least out there for everyone when she gets here. So that being said, welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is still morning by me. I am here in Houston, Texas, joining you. When Krista joins, she is joining us from France, which, by the way, we had the time change here in the US already. France doesn't actually have it, or Europe doesn't have it until next week or maybe this weekend. But by next week, I think everyone's calendars are going to be synced back up the way they should be. So hopefully, if for some reason there is a glitch and she doesn't join, I hope that you'll stay with us and engage with me in the comments below. And let's make this a really fun and exciting Blue TV episode. That being said, I shared where I was from. I shared where Krista is from, but why don't you, in the comments below, let us know where you're calling, or not, you're not calling, where you're listening in from. We have Tim out there. He's in Dallas, Texas. So, oh, there we go. There's Krista. I'm going to have her join.
Oh, so I'm sorry, Denise. I'm sorry. I had a mom moment where we were in a different event with you in audio room, and my daughter knocked over a large glass of water all over my keyboard on my
Oh, no.
computer.
Oh, no.
Crazy,
Oh,
right?
no. It is crazy. Well, I let everyone know that it might could have been the time change, and I was just kicking us off until you got here because I knew eventually you'd show up. So I appreciate you being here. So
Well,
welcome,
my
welcome.
computer's working.
Yay! At least we have that. So for those of you out there, I did already let everyone know that I was dialing. I'm not dialing in. I don't know why I keep saying that. I'm live, so I'm not dialing in. But I shared that I'm from Houston, that you're there in France, and I really wanted to find out where others were from as well. So we've had tons of people joining us. Let me see. We've got Tim. You saw that was in Dallas. Chris is in New York. Whomever else is out there, be sure to drop us a note and let us know. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about me. I want to really just introduce Krista. I have been doing these LinkedIn live events, Blue TV. Oh no, we lost Krista again. So she'll come on hopefully in a minute. We have been doing these weekly events. She's coming back. We've been doing these weekly events where we feature someone new and exciting, where we talk about some of the things that have helped us be successful here on LinkedIn. Now, we feature more of what they're doing, and then that leads us into the conversation. Today, we're taking a little bit of a different approach. So I'm super excited about that. But I'm going to turn it on over to Krista, allow her to do her own introduction because she has a lot to share with us, and then we'll dive right into the topic. So, Krista, if you take it from here.
Hey, everybody. Am I on the stream? Yeah, you're on the show. Okay. Well, thank you, Denise, for having me and for hosting this show. I think it's really great because we both love LinkedIn and we both post here regularly. And today's topic is really amazing. So, a little bit about me is I have been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. Lived in California, but relocated to France during the pandemic. My dad is French, and post here pretty religiously on LinkedIn for the past 5 years. So I think I have a lot to say about how to succeed on LinkedIn. I've seen everything change multiple times. So no panic, everyone. It's pretty normal. And it does pay off in the end, which we're going to talk about. I also wanted to say that I run two businesses right now. So I have Unignorable Brands, which is my new agency. Hooray, I've gone back to the agency world, where I help smaller businesses generating like around 10 million a year to grow and scale to their next level by developing marketing strategies as a fractional CMO or as full agency services. So I'm building out a lot of great things in 2024. Super excited about my agency stuff. And on the other side, I have a passion for helping new entrepreneurs who are just getting started. So I have something called From Zero to Six Academy, where I have a bunch of programs that I've built to really assist new entrepreneurs who are like, how do I monetize? How do I start out? So that's me. And I would love to connect with anybody who is watching this on LinkedIn. That's my main platform. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you, Krista. And hold on, let me put the banner up. I did have a banner going at one point. So for those of you that don't know, I do my own technology work behind the scenes. So if it looks like I don't know what I'm doing, sometimes I actually don't. And the other thing is I tend to kind of look at different screens to try to make sure I capture everyone. So it's not that I'm not listening or not paying attention. It's just that I'm trying to do multiple things at one time. One day I'm going to get so good at it. I'm going to be like some of those others that you can't even tell that they're actually doing all the behind the scenes while they're doing it. Or I'll have someone doing it for me, which I think some of them do that too. So we'll see. So if you're interested in helping out behind the scenes, let me know. Or if you're a guru at this and you can help me do a better job, you can share your knowledge with me. I'd love that. But thank you for the introduction, Krista. I appreciate it. We've got quite a few people out here, and I know that are listening and tuning in. And I know what our topic was today was really going from burnout to consistency, whether it's here on LinkedIn or any other platform for that matter. And I'll kick it off by just sharing, because I haven't been here on LinkedIn quite as long as Krista has, and I've had these moments of burnout. So for me, this topic is really huge and important, because I had a year where I would be on really hard hitting for a period of time, and then I'd be away and MIA, and then I'd be back on, and then I'd be MIA, right? Or I'd take a break. And so I hit burnout quite a bit. So for me, this is a timely subject. And because we're finishing out the first quarter, everyone was super excited as the year started, right? And now how do we sustain that activity as we go throughout the remainder of the year, which, by the way, we still have 3 quarters left to go. That's a long time. So how do we sustain that? So maybe, Christy, you can kick it off by sharing with us maybe your journey and what you've learned. And I can ask questions as we go. But the goal is for you guys to, as well, as you're listening to Krista and myself, ask the questions that you want answers to, and we'll answer them here. And if we can't, we'll answer after. So engage with us, let us know what you're thinking, provide some questions, and we'll be on top of them as much as I possibly can be with my limited technology skills. All right, Krista, off to you.
All right. So today, talking about the content cadence and how to avoid burnout. First and foremost, I want to say that it is not apples to apples. So do not compare your journey to every person who you see. Behind the scenes, things are not as they appear. There's definitely people who have complete teams who are running the show. And in fact, the people who are posting the most and they're serious about it probably do have a whole team of people running the show. So, and we don't know that. We don't know that they've got this great content, but actually they have a ghostwriter who does it, or they have video editors and they have graphic designers and, whole hordes of people helping. So please don't let that deter you or intimidate you. Just know that it's the people you're seeing in your feed. Everyone's got their own thing going on, right? And second of all, before you even start posting, I think that the thing I did that helped me the most was not posting anything for about 6 months and just becoming kind of a connoisseur of content, meaning I started really paying attention and looking at what are people posting about. And what you can do on LinkedIn is you can save posts. Yeah, Karen says she needed to hear that. Thank you, Karen. I mean, don't beat yourself up. It's kind of like watching athletes and then you're like, well, I'll never be able to do that, or beating yourself up like, why can't I do that? Well, because they've been training every day for years. but you don't know that. And that's the problem. Okay. It looks easy, doesn't it? So it makes you feel kind of like, well, I should be able to do this. Like, but it's not, trust me. Behind the scenes, I think Alex Hormozy, on one podcast I listened to, he said that he's paying like $100,000 a month for his content team, not for his marketing, for his content team. Do you understand what that means? So just think about that, my friends. We could buy a house somewhere in the United States every month for that money, right?
Oh, no kidding. And I want to kind of put those in layman's terms, because you made 2 points. One was everyone has their own thing going on, and the second was you took a break, right, when you needed it. So two things I'd like to highlight in there. One is, when you relate to everyone has their own thing going on, you never know what shoes anyone is walking in. So and that doesn't apply to everyday life. It applies to our content as well. So as Krista said, Alex pays someone $100,000 a month. I may not have the ability to pay someone that type of cash, right? And so I do all of my content myself. So if I get sick, or if Krista's daughter spills her drink again, water on the keyboard, we're limited with what we can do when it's just ourselves. So remember that we all have a different life going on behind the scenes, and we don't always want to share that with everyone. And so we don't know. The other is, when you look at taking a break, sometimes that old adage, slow down to speed up, is really true, right? To take a break and look at what everyone else is doing, center yourself again, and come back. So anyway, I just wanted to go back to those two things, because I think those are things that, while we say them, I don't know that we actually understand or believe them, and we need to really start to live those two statements, right? It's okay to slow down, and you got to remember that everyone does things in their own way and has their own life going on behind the scenes.
Exactly. And I think, Stephen King, who is like a incredibly successful best-selling author, he said, you have to first become a good reader before you can become a writer. So that's why I said, please go and just enjoy the content. Go out there. And this doesn't just apply to LinkedIn. I mean, right now I'm streaming to YouTube as well. And I feel like we just need to have fun. We need to have more fun. So enjoy your content. And what you can do is you can save some of the posts that you liked the most. And I'm a big fan of lists. I like to create lists. So, you can do this if you wanted to. You could have a Google Doc on your hard drive or whatever, and you could just create links to your favorite carousel posts. Or you could use LinkedIn and click the save button, and then you could go back and find them very easily. But whatever you do, start by figuring out whose content you're drawn to. And I also want to expand this just for a second, then we'll come back to LinkedIn specific, but do the same thing for sales pages, do the same thing for emails. What got you to open that email? Later on, you might want to share that with your writer. If you hire a writer for one of your launches, or your coach, and be like, here's a couple of emails that got me to click. And then you guys can talk about what they did. So, I call those swipe files. So I think you got to have swipe files for content. But in order to do that, you have to consume the content, and then later on figure out what really drew you to it. What does good content look like? Yes, have fun, please. Please have fun. If you're not enjoying it, then it becomes a chore. And as we know, we don't want to go to the gym if we feel we have to go to the gym, right?
And I think, Krista, maybe it would be helpful to kind of share what my journey was like over the last year, because it is probably something that most of us have experienced. And maybe we can talk through kind of maybe role play, or have a conversation around why that transpired, and and what I did to overcome that. And maybe that will help others. But if I think about last year, I mean, I started out the year super strong. I was posting regularly for a period of time, and my regular was, 2 or 3 times a week. I didn't dabble in any lives. It was just pure content. Now, I, however, did comment a lot, but I posted about 2 to 3 times. and I was still getting my voice. I don't know that I really had my voice. I mean, you've been with me for a while, Krista, in my journey, and you've seen the evolution of just myself and my business and my voice and all things associated with that. But then I went heads down to try to create the Celevators program, and I started to kind of break away from LinkedIn because I was heads down doing a project, which took me a couple of months. So I was kind of gone for a little while. Then I was active again in the summer. That point, I started to add some lives to it, and I came back just reinvigorated and ready to go. I hit it about the same type of consistency, 2 to 3 times a week at the beginning of as I did at the beginning of the year, and then the summer started to create a little bit of friction for me because my kids were home and I wanted to spend more time with them. And then we get into the fall and I had all these activities that I was responsible for, that I was participating in. For example, I did a sales revival conference that Chris Colt was part of, that is out there. So that was super exciting. I also was working on a Human First initiative. And so I was really focused on other things. And so I didn't have a whole lot of time to spend on LinkedIn. And my lives then that I'd started in the summer kind of went away, and I came and I took a step back and I thought, man, this really stinks, right? I mean, all this time and effort that I put in at the beginning of the year, it's been kind of, come and go. And yet, how do I come back from that, right? Because now I want to come back reinvigorated, and I am, but there's a difference in the way I am approaching this year than last year, so that I avoid last year. But I thought maybe I would share that experience because it's probably one that most of us have experienced ourselves, right?
Well, thank you for being so vulnerable about this, Denise, because the problem, like I mentioned in the very beginning, is we see these perfect people who are like posting incredible posts, and they seem to be what we get the impression that they're online. And we're like, I just saw a post from this person, and then there's a second post from this person, or, and they all look so good. And it just really gives you this terrible imposter syndrome and guilt feeling. And the truth is that, 9 out of 10 times, the way to avoid burnout is to plan. And planning means batch producing. So what does batch producing mean? I'd like to not waste any time, but give you guys some actionable tips, if you don't mind, and just take it and then develop it into what works for you. You don't have to follow it to a T, but this is an example of an easy 5-day content strategy that I put in the comment. This would be this, you can do less than this, but I'm giving you ideas. So if you want to post 5 times a week, and you could mix this up to adapt to your audience, which day you post what. But to be really honest, we are creatures of routine and habit. And what takes away your stress is waking up in the morning and knowing that you know exactly what needs to be done. You're not stressing, what should I post? Or, you're just like, okay, Mondays, I always post 1 article, and that goes out via email as well. So it's like LinkedIn and article, email. Tuesday is a poll. A poll is something that if you're scared about content, it's so easy, because essentially you just want to put together questions for your audience that they care about. And when you gather the answers, and especially in the comments, what people say, you can turn those into articles later, right? So it's like nothing is wasted. Everything kind of works together. And what I have to produce all these things is I have just a huge ideas folder. And the ideas would be all of your ideal customers' desires. You know what they want. Then you know what their challenges are, and you know what their objections are, like their excuses, right? We know our audience so well. And if you do that, then you can take those 5 different content types and you can just go through your ideas folder and be like, okay, today I feel like doing this and that. And the truth is that, you should also have fun. So you should be like, okay, can I do an event? Can I do a shout out for somebody? If I'm really not feeling up to it, I'll do a book review, and by the way, I do not hesitate to cheat. So if I'm like, okay, I read the book, but I don't really know what to write about it, right? I will 100% go to AI, and I will be like, what is a good book? What are good takeaways from this book that I read? So don't feel guilty about that, because it's all about providing value to your audience, right? So I see there's a question here, Maria. What do you do if you have ideas in your mind to share, however, don't have time? Oh, this is perfect. So what you do, Maria, is you get your best friend, which is your phone. And because you as well, your phone's never far, right? I mean, you're a mom, right? If you're a mom, your phone can't be far. So you get your phone and you open your good old Notes app, or your Google Shared Drive, and you have your ideas in there. And then you just drop them in. And I do this. I don't do this when I'm driving. No texting and driving. But if I'm waiting in line, or I'm waiting to pick up my kids and I'm parked safely, I'll just be like, oh man, or the best time sometimes to have ideas is after you've had like a conversation with somebody in your audience, or you had a discovery call, or you had a coaching call. You have these new ideas. But you really don't need more than a couple of minutes, throughout the day. You're just like, okay, whenever I have an idea, I'll jot it down. And here's what you do. This is the fun part. When you need to book in a little bit of your time every month to produce your content, but sometimes it's like, I'm not feeling it, so I'm like, so I don't force myself, although writers will tell you that it's a habit. So if you say like, I'm going to try to, write 10,000 words a day, you will. It's kind of like a muscle. But here's what I do. The fun part is I go into my ideas folder and I look for whatever jumps out at me. So and that's the beauty of having this ongoing list of ideas. It's like one of them catches my eye and I'm like, that's what I want to write about today. And then this is the second part of that. You pick that idea and you don't try to be like Ernest Hemingway and write all these beautiful things. You come up with bullet points around that topic, or you take the topic and you copy it and paste it into an AI tool like Jasper AI, Copy AI, ChatGPT, obviously, and you ask it these questions like, what would be the tips to do XYZ, right? So yeah, I really believe that AI is a very helpful tool. I don't believe in copying and pasting directly from AI. But I usually take at least like 30% of good ideas from AI. Like 30% of what AI said was like, oh yeah, I forgot that. Let me add that in, And then the last part is you decide which output you want. So is this going to become an article that's probably going to take longer to write? Is it going to become a carousel post? Is it going to become a video script like you can record with your phone? So you see where I'm headed? So it shouldn't take you a lot of time. But here's the last secret is, because I could talk about this all day. The last secret is save them up for the rainy days. Meaning like if you're on a roll and you've got all these creative ideas, try to map out a lot of them at once so that later on, when you're on vacation or something, you're going to have stuff that you can pull out. And that leads me to the last part is really, you can recycle your content, and you should be, and you can recycle it in a couple of ways. So if you use a scheduler like Metricool or like I use HubSpot, like we have all these tools we can use, right? You can just go in when you publish your post and already schedule it for 3 months from now. If you're paying for a scheduler, you can do it way in advance. LinkedIn, I think you can only do it for 30 days in advance, but maybe I'm wrong. But you could, I would say like have your content bank. And then if you follow a cadence, like I just showed you, like Monday article, Tuesday poll, Wednesday carousel, Thursday short video, Friday event or shout out, right? If you follow that, you're going to be like, oh, look, for the next 4 Fridays, I just need to pull out of my content bank some carousels and schedule them. And you can hire a VA to help you. So once you've been doing this for a year, you've got more than enough content. And what you can do even better is you can take some of your old content and you can repurpose it into a different format. So let's say that you did, like right now, I'm going through all my old articles and I'm finding the ones that have steps, like 5 steps to do XYZ, 6 tips for new entrepreneurs, those kind of posts. And a VA can do this for you as well. And you can actually turn those into carousels. And you could just put a whole list of them together, or your VA could, and you can give them to a graphic designer and you can be like, put 20 carousels together. Now, if you're posting 1 carousel a week and he can produce 20, you can go on vacation. Okay? Okay, everyone?
Hey, and by the way, there's cool carousel technologies that you can leverage, like AI carousel, right?
Yes.
So there are some things that are already out there so that if you can't hire a VA, you have access to tools that can help you generate them very quickly. So the content, you still have to do the content yourself, but it, you know, part of the hardest part is generating just the carousel, like the way, the format and what it's going to look like. And if you've got solutions already out there, then all you have to do is plug in the information.
And also, one of the things you can do, I'm big on branding, so I think you should develop a carousel template that belongs to you with your logo and your like call to action. So let's say that you're short on budget, just pay a graphic designer to set it up for you once in Canva. So, he can develop it wherever, or she can, but then they save it into Canva for you. And then you can have your VA go in there and copy and paste and save those 20 carousels. You can be like, here's some of my old content. I want to turn these into carousels. And your VA can go in there in Canva and do all of that for you. So it's not like you have to have every single carousel be this, very expensive, very beautiful graphic, because obviously that's not what you're selling, right? You're selling your services or yourself. So the graphic design should just be on brand, but it doesn't have to be always something spectacular,
I will also say, I know this seems a bit frou-frou, Krista, and maybe you can expand on this, but I think in order to do any of this that you are recommending, I had to have a complete shift in mindset, right? In mind space. Like, I think my challenge last year, which is the differentiator between this year and last year for me, was that I felt like it was a thing I had to do. And now I actually am in a place where I love LinkedIn. Now I am all in, right? So I'm trying to take the strategy that you and Chris Colt do, which is really generating more inbound leads than having to focus on so many outbound leads, right? And so in order to do that, I am all in. But the only way I could be all in on LinkedIn was if I actually decided that I really loved what I was doing, right? That LinkedIn was the place to be. I had to completely shift my mind space in order to effectively implement all of these strategies you're recommending.
That's such a good point, because earlier I said that, if you feel like going to the gym is a chore, you're not going to want to go. And you don't have to be a professional graphic designer or writer, but what you have to be is somebody who has ideas that not sharing would be selfish. So you're like, I have so much wealth of experience from my professional background or my personal experiences too. So the ideal formula, I'll put this in the chat too, that I find helpful, is to think, these are my top 3: good advice, social proof, and personal. So good advice, that's where you can have all your ideas list that you can keep ongoing and then eventually turn it into content, kind of like good ingredients, and later you bake the cake, right? And then social proof, so you should screenshot all the nice things people say to you. A lot of it, happens just casually in the DMs. It's not even an official testimonial, but people are saying really nice things to you in those conversations. Or, you might get called out to win a top badge, hint, hint, like, that's social proof. So you should try to celebrate yourself. And that can be harder for people who have, introverts who don't like to be in the spotlight. But please don't feel that way, because you earned it and you deserve it. And then I really believe you should be putting out personal posts, because people want, like, sometimes I feel like there are certain accounts on LinkedIn that's almost like a ChatGPT bot is managing that account, because they're doing enormous amounts of content, but it feels so practical and and I'm like, I want to see some personal stories behind this person. Because I think that's why do people work with you? It's a lot about relationships. And I know your competencies pretty quickly. If you post content regularly and I can read your profile, I'm going to understand what you're competent in. But that doesn't mean I want to work with you, because there's other people who are competent in that as well. So when you show me your personal, that vulnerability, and maybe your values, your core values, there's other reasons like likability that will influence my decision to pick you over the other experts. So if you're not putting out something personal, I think you're doing yourself a disservice.
And I would expand on that with two statements. One is over 80% of a buyer's decision to work with you is based on social media, based on their experience with you on social media. It may not be an engagement that they had directly with you, but it is going to be what you put out there. And the second is our buyers of today want an experience. They actually demand an experience, right? So whereas in the past, it was the job, prior to the 5 years ago, people, they would do a little bit of research, but it was really our job to educate them. Today, the buyers of today have already done their homework. They already know by the time they are engaging with you, they've already down selected you. They may not know exactly how they want to leverage you or work with you, but they've already down selected you as one of their 3 to 5 top choices as someone that they want to work with. And the only way that you are going to differentiate yourself from all of those other competitors is the experience that you give them as a seller. So it is your responsibility, and an experience can't happen unless you actually allow them to see you, your authentic self, to get to know you as an individual. So I truly believe that we have to, in this day and age, differentiate ourselves not just from AI, but from our other peers, from those individuals who are trying to compete against the same business. We have to share who we are so that we can either repel those that you don't want to work with, or in better circumstances, really bring in those individuals who want to work with you so that you can develop a partnership that's a lasting partnership.
So true, Denise. And what you touched on is something we haven't talked about this whole time, but I think that you really want to show your personality. Because if posting feels like a chore, or you're overly reliant on AI, that's not what's going to sell you. And here's another little formula that I like to tell my audience. So if you're trying to post content on LinkedIn, what do people trust people, not AI? Yeah, absolutely. AI should just supplement you, not replace you. But I think that what people are trying to do is understand, okay, why should I bother reading this or watching this? So that's really important. And how will it help them solve a problem? So this is kind of a little test when you're trying to post thought leadership content, right? Even your personal content, there should be some kind of lesson in there. One of the things that I have done that's probably a little bit atypical is I post rant posts. I call them rant posts because one time someone said that I love your rants. And I was like, oh, okay. And what the rants are is an example of today what I posted. So these are real life stories that are going through my head or I'm experiencing them. And I think that they're newsworthy. Like, I think other people probably have similar experiences. And in today's post, it proved it because I'm getting a lot of comments. And these comments aren't like great posts. These comments are like, this happened to me, or I can't believe that. And so people are So when you post real life experiences that people can relate to, that starts conversations, and the algorithm loves conversations. So I don't do it for the sake of it. It's not like I'm like, oh, I have to start something today, you know, like get the views up. I literally just like sometimes use LinkedIn as a form of therapy. Like I'm like, I can't believe this. I have to share this with you today. What's happened? And it works because after all, what is social media? It's not a one-way street. So, you know, that's the last thing is instead of making your content feel like, oh, I'm a thought leader. I'm a thought leader. I'm just posting all these wonderful tips, and people also want to be edutained. So think about that. Think about like, how will I make my viewer feel when they're looking at this post? How do they want to feel? And ultimately, a big turnoff, like I want to say one no, what you shouldn't do is you shouldn't stress about your posts and be like, oh my God, I didn't post today. It's terrible. I better just figure out what to post. For those situations, that's why you have your cheat list. You should have your ideas folder, and you should recycle your posts. So I want to give a little tip about that recycling. So I actually use a tool called Shield app. And they've been around for like 3 or 4 years now, at least. And the reason I use them is because it keeps all my posts organized. So I can easily go back and I can filter all my previous posts by days or years or months. And I, of course, am looking for stuff that's older because I'm not going to repost the same post within the a month or so, right? So if you're using Shield app, you can go back further and you can be like, look for posts that did well. And that's another thing is it shows you all your stats. So it's not like a gaming tool, like game the algorithm. It's not going to do anything with your LinkedIn. It's just literally a statistics tool that shows you all your posts and can tell you which post performed better. So if you have an emergency, plan ahead. Like today I have to take my kid to a doctor's appointment. Let me go in and schedule the post, in advance. And then while I'm at the doctor's, the post will be posted. And while I'm in the waiting room, maybe I can go in and engage on the comments and check it. But don't be like, there's so many hacks that can make this easy for you. You don't need to be spending all day on LinkedIn. I literally go in twice a day. I go in the morning and I go in again at night, like in the evening. And remember, I'm on a different time zone, so it depends for you guys. But it's really enough. It's really enough to do yourself great service. And please, whatever you do, don't become addicted, because today we're talking about how not to burn out. And one of the ways to burn out is to become obsessed with your data. Like, oh, this post did so poorly. It happens. I've been here 5 years. You have to humble yourself and you have to say, sometimes my post is going to not do well because the algorithm didn't like it. Maybe I edited a word and that caused it to bomb. Maybe, for example, when I repost events, they don't do very well. Like I try to share an event. Those posts seem to not get enough reach. Don't stress about it. Keep moving forward. If you become obsessed with your data, like, oh, how many likes and posts views you get, you're gonna focus on the wrong thing. Instead, focus on, am I showing up with good energy? Am I putting out content about what people want to know that's valuable? And am I showing my personality and doing it with other people too, not just one-sided? That's all you need to worry about. Okay. And by the way, we have someone who took a break here. I saw her come back recently. I should have tagged her, Zineb. So Zineb, I forgot her last name, from Spain. And she was gone for several months. And now she's back and her posts are doing great. Just FYI. Like people are so happy to see her come back. And all of a sudden I see her posts are, in my feed all the time and lots of likes. And so you can take a break. You can.
Well, and I was going to say too, I mean, I probably don't do like I do at all because I don't always follow any of the recommendations that Krista said as it relates to batching, or, I follow a lot of Krista's recommendations, but not specific to how I generate my content, because I had a love-hate relationship for so long. Now I'm totally in a place where my mind space is different and I really actually love it. But regardless of whether I loved it or was in a love-hate relationship, I've always gone with whatever feels right to me. So I got to be my authentic self. So if it meant that I didn't want to post every single day, I didn't post. If I missed a post, even though I was doing, 2 or 3 times a week and I missed a post, oh well. So that happens, right? For me, it was really just about being my authentic self and finding ways to actually love what I'm doing, even in those moments when I didn't actually love LinkedIn. I still loved what I was doing enough that I would just post what made sense to me. So in the end, I mean, it is great if you can have and implement all of these amazing strategies. And there are some things that I am doing now that I finally learned how to adopt. But I will say that you just got to get out there and do you. That has got to be the most important part of this formula, right? If it doesn't feel right one day, even if you've got a bank of content, but you just don't feel spirited in that right spirit to actually create a post, don't. I mean, it's okay. Life will not end if you don't post that day, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. And I think if you do feel stressed about it and anxious, you can easily connect with me and I'd be happy to help you with a content strategy that works. Odin, oh my goodness, you're so funny. Thank you for being here and being so funny. But I think, and we forgot to talk about the comments are content in itself. So sometimes we get obsessed with posting, but there are days when I don't post myself. All I do is go in and I spend twice the time like just reading people's posts and commenting. And if you do it strategically, like you can get some amazing ROI out of commenting. There are people here on LinkedIn who teach comment strategy. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, like one day I went in and I'm like, oh my goodness, my notifications are blowing up. I see all these new profile views. People are looking at my profile. What have I done? And I go in and it turned out that before I went to bed, I left a comment on somebody's post that got 83 likes and like 14 replies, like comment. And I think it was about Lila Hermosi or something. Like, I don't want to go into detail, but like it was about her. It wasn't her post, but it was something where I mentioned her. So it's like, there it is content as well.
Comments are just as important. There are people who have built their brand and the algorithm recognizes their comments, and so they have built a following based purely on their comments. I mean, you can do that. I think you just got to pick, and you can have a combination of the two. I do both. I post and I comment a lot, and I know you do that as well, Krista. I mean, and I think that you can go all in one, or you can do a combination of the two, as long as you're doing, again, going back to what feels right for you. So, Krista, I know we're getting close to, summing it all up, summarizing and ending our show. I try to keep these around 45 minutes. Oh, wait, Bowden had, you done want to mess with Hermoses. He makes me laugh. Oh my God. And Chris is like, comments are gold. They are gold. I mean, I want to really leave everyone with just some parting thoughts that you have, and then how everyone can connect with or engage with you best, Krista.
I would just say, have fun, because it's hard to burn out if you're having fun. So listen to your intuition, and then don't shame yourself. Be like, I'm enjoying myself, and that will keep you more consistent and high energy than anything else. and then just keep going. You know, next week's a new day. So what? Maybe for 3 weeks you went off LinkedIn. The sky didn't fall, but people will miss you, and eventually you'll feel like coming back. You'll come back. Okay. But please don't beat yourself up. A lot of this, and you know this, Denise, is mental. It's not about the quality of your content or the number of likes. It's these mental games we play with ourselves about like setting expectations way too high, way too unrealistic, comparing yourself to other people, and then overdoing it. And then that is a sure way to lead to burnout. So please be more moderate, have fun, and don't worry about the rest. The rest, it comes. We get rewards, don't we? In the end, you just have to keep putting out what you believe in and be authentic about it. That's it.
Awesome. Well, my parting thoughts are from all of this is I need to do a better job of having systems in place so that I have moments, and I'm already doing that. And, I learned all of that working with Krista. I think that we've got to make sure that you've got a plan in place, a strategy, have a better strategy so that you can be as effective as you want to be. And then the other is when you're doing it, very much like what you said, Krista, is just have fun, be your authentic self and have fun. And don't shame yourself or put yourself down or get frustrated if for some reason you just aren't having a day where you want to be on LinkedIn. It is okay. Life will not fall apart. So how do we connect with you? How do we find you? How do we engage with you, Krista?
Yes. So you can reach me, of course, on LinkedIn. You'll see my name here in the comments scrolling. That's probably the best way to reach out to me directly, and we can go from there. I'm in the process of building a new website right now, so that's why I'm more directing traffic towards social media. But if you go to my profile on LinkedIn, you can find out more in the featured section, for example, more about like the services I offer, because I do have a whole community where I've worked really hard to put together the content strategy that I follow with tutorials and worksheets and live masterclasses and guest experts and stuff like that. So there really is so much out there, but it can be overwhelming. So in the end, it's about figuring out how can I develop a strategy that works for me? That's all.
Love it. All right. So for those of you that don't know, and you're just joining us for the first time, we do the Blue TVs every week. Well, most weeks on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Central. That's Houston, Texas time. Next week, we have Talila on. So I'm super excited to have her as well. This week, we focused really all on from burnout to consistency. How do we do a better job of really showing up authentically as ourselves, having fun, and putting systems in place so that we can be as consistent without the burnout. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. If you are on Team Live, you can put that hashtag in the comments below as Team Live. But as well, more importantly, for those that, because we see the ones that are live, for those that are at Team Replay, put your hashtag Team Replay. Go seek out Krista. Come back here on Wednesdays at 11 and Central Time to see more of Blue TV and other guests just like this. And I would just say, go out and have fun today on LinkedIn. Play and enjoy and have a good time. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy Hump Day, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Denise, for having me. And I'll see you next week to check out Talia on the show. And I wanted to end, if you want a free masterclass, I do have a social media secrets masterclass. And if you DM me, I will give it to you for free. So just go ask me and I'll give it to you. And that might just give you a little boost.
Awesome. So everyone DM her for her free masterclass. All right, guys. Thank you again. I'm ending the stream, so bear with me as I do that.
See you soon, Denise. Bye.